Welcome back. You're still watching the Nile article, and to be shedding more light on the latest updates for today and the presidential activities of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, we have the main top story for today as Egypt reaffirms the support for the Libyan unity, stability and its future. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received the Libyan National Army Commander Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar in Cairo, reaffirming Egypt's deep-rooted fraternal ties with Libya and its unwavering support for the country's unity, sovereignty and the territorial integrity. President al-Sisi stressed the importance of unifying the Libyan institutions and holding presidential and parliamentary elections while supporting the initiatives aimed at restoring security, stability and development. The meeting also explored the opportunities to deepen the bilateral cooperation and strengthen the partnership between Egypt and Libya. Field Marshal Haftar praised the Egyptian pivotal efforts to promote peace and stability in Libya and the region, expressing commitment to continued coordination and comprehensive development. And to be shedding more light on the Egyptian-Libyan bilateral ties, I'm honored to be having with me over the phone Dr. Mohamed Elezaby, the Professor of International Relations. Dr. Mohamed, thank you very much for being with us tonight on 9 TV International and the Nile article. Dr. Mohamed, am I coming through?
Thank you, Mr. Ahmed, and I have the honor to be with you.
The honor is all mine. First of all, how did you see the meeting for today between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the Libyan National Army Commander Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar, which took place in capital, Cairo?
Well, the meeting between His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the Libyan National Army Commander, Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar in Cairo, carries significance for far beyond a conventional bilateral meeting. The timing, participants and substance of the discussions indicate that Egypt is attempting to position itself as the center of the broader effort to transform Libya from a state divided among competing political and military and institutional centers into a unified national state. The Egyptian presidency stated explicitly that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi reaffirmed Egypt's position based on preserving Libyan unity and territorial integrity, unifying Libya institutions and holding presidential and parliamentary elections. Haftar in turn expressed support for initiatives aimed at preserving Libya's unity and stability and stressed the continued coordination with Egypt. This makes the meeting particularly important because the language of the meeting was not centered on eastern Libya alone. It was centered on Libya as a unified state. That distance is strategically important. Also, the meeting should be interpreted against the background of Libya's continued institutional fragmentation. For more than a decade, Libya has struggled with competing political authorities, divided security structures, rival economic interests, and competing foreign partnerships. Haftar remains one of the most powerful figures in eastern and southern Libya, and therefore represents the indispensable actor in any realistic national settlement. At the same time, Egypt has recently expanded its dialogue with Western Libya. The August meeting, therefore, comes after a notable Egyptian diplomatic effort to communicate with different Libyan camps rather than treating the crisis as an inclusively Eastern-Western confrontation.
Yes, Dr. Mohamed, you've mentioned the statements of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi stating that the Libyan territorial integrity and sovereignty and security and peace is of a paramount importance. How do you see the statements that President al-Sisi had stated several times in the past years?
Well, we can say that always it announced that we want to keep the unity of the Arab land, want to support the national authorities, the national army. So His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, by his speech, he assured that he wants Libya to back as a unified country, not authority in the east and the other authority in the west. And Egypt also try to save its national security by saving Libya, especially we have 1,000 kilometers border with Libya, and we suffered a lot from what is happening from this border for 10 years. So Egypt tried to support Egyptians, all Libyan efforts to save the unity of Libya, to make the parliamentary elections and the presidential elections in Libya, to support the unity of this land.
Yes, and speaking of unity, how do you see the importance of unifying the Libyan institutions for the benefit of the future of the country, the North African country?
Well, this is increasingly consistent with Egypt's border approach. Libya's security cannot be separated from political reconciliation, and political reconciliation cannot be separated from reconstruction and economic integration. The inclusion of the reconstruction portfolio is especially important because economic development can provide incentive for factions to cooperate rather than compete.
Yes, and speaking of cooperation, how do you see the importance of holding the presidential and the parliamentary elections for the political future of Libya?
Well, we can say that this message from His Excellency Egypt's rejection of Libya's permanent fragmentation. The Egyptian presidency explicitly linked the three objectives: preserving Libya's unity and territorial integrity, unifying state institutions, holding presidential and parliamentary elections. These three objectives are interconnected. Election without unified institutions could simply reproduce political fragmentation. An institutional unification without elections could create another transitional arrangement without democratic legitimacy. And territorial unity without a unified security structure would remain vulnerable. Therefore, its position increasingly resembles three-stage state-building structures: institutional unification, security consideration, legitimate elections. This is considerable more ambitious than simply negotiating a temporary ceasefire.
Yes, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi also spoke about the importance of deepening the bilateral ties between both countries. How do you see the prospects of expanding cooperation between Egypt and Libya on the political and the economic fronts?
Well, we know that Egypt have many fields of cooperation with Libya, especially in the oil field. And we have a lot of workers, Egyptian workers, work there in Libya and reconstruction. So Egypt tried to ensure that we need to share our investments, especially the private sector companies can work in Libya to make the reconstruction of what was destroyed by the war. Also, Libya needs the experience of Egypt in the field of medical, and the field of education. So there can be many fields of cooperation between Libya and Egypt and the Near East.
On the other hand, Field Marshal Khalifa Haftar, he praised the efforts of Egypt to be keeping peace and security and stability, not just within Libya or for Libya, for the Libyan citizens, but for the region in general. How do you see the efforts of Egypt being perceived by the brothers in Libya?
We can speak about the military dimensions as arguably the most difficult component of Libyan reunification. Libya currently makes a fully unified national military structure. Instead, different military and armed formations remain associated with different geographic and political centers. However, there have been recent signs of progress. If we back in July 2026, senior military representatives from the eastern and western Libya held high-level talks in Turkey, including Khalid Haftar and Western military leadership, with both sides describing a unified national army as essential for long-term stability. Also, very important, because Egypt, Libya's policy is separable from its national security doctrine. Libya shares along with its border with Egypt. Also, one of the most important development proceedings that after meeting was Egypt's growing dialogue with Tripoli. Libyan Prime Minister Abdelhamid Dibeiba visited the Cairo earlier in August 2026,
yes,
represented an important expansion of political communications between Egypt and the government of national unity. If Egypt were communicating exclusively with Haftar, Cairo could be portrayed as supporting one side of the Libyan divide. But if Cairo is simultaneously engaging Tripoli and eastern Libya, its diplomatic culture becomes different. Egypt is attempting to communicate with the competing sides in order to bring them towards a common national framework. This is the essence of mediation.
Yes, and finally, Dr. Mohamed, the unity of the Arab world and the Arab region, as you mentioned earlier on within our discussion, how do you see the efforts to be keeping the unity, or trying to be keeping the unity and trying to be keeping the peace and the security of the Arab region under the tenure of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for the past 10 or 12 years?
Well, we know that His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi made a great effort, especially in supporting Sudan and supporting the National Army of Sudan. Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, the leader of the National Army of Sudan, and refused any kind of division for Sudan. Also, Egypt tries to assure that we want to save the unity of Syria, and we helped Lebanon and support them in negotiations with Israel to assure that Israel will withdraw from the south of Lebanon. Many things have lost Egypt's efforts in Libya. What is happening in Somalia? Egypt made a great effort also to save the unity of Somalia. Many things, and Egypt played a great role to save the unity of not only Arab countries but also the African countries.
Yes, Dr. Mohamed Elezaby, the Professor of International Relations, thank you very much for being with us tonight on Nile TV International and Nile Oracle. And returning once again to the